Welcome back. We start our news bulletin from the US, where over 1,200 more people have died from COVID-19, increasing the tally to over 94,000. Meanwhile, Brazil reported a record 1,188 deaths in 24 hours, pushing the toll to over 20,000. Worldwide, the death count has exceeded 332,000, with over 5.1 million people infected. More in this report.
Many countries are lifting restrictions as new deaths and the spread of the virus continue to slow. U.S. President Donald Trump says the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention will issue guidance for reopening very soon.
I think CDC is going to put something out very soon. Spoke to them today. I think they're going to put something out very soon. We've got to open our churches. People want to go in. I saw a scene today where people are trying to break into a church, to go into the church, not to break in and steal something, to break in. They want to be in their church. I said, you better put it out, and they're doing it, and they're going to be issuing something today or tomorrow.
Over in Australia, New South Wales will ease restrictions allowing cafes, restaurants and pubs to have up to 50 seated patrons. Australia is now asking the UK to exempt its travellers from the 14-day quarantine. Meanwhile, in Scotland, First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has outlined a 4-phase incremental plan to ease lockdown restrictions from May 28th.
The lockdown restrictions have been absolutely necessary to mitigate the massive harm caused by the COVID-19 virus. However, the lockdown is creating harms of its own: loneliness and social isolation, deepening inequalities and serious damage to our economy. None of us want it to last any longer than it has to. So today we are setting out the phases in which we will aim to ease lockdown.
Chechny's leader, Ramzan Kadyrov, has been taken to a hospital in Moscow after he started showing symptoms of the coronavirus.
Meanwhile, Pakistan has reported its worst day in the fight against coronavirus, with the highest single-day deaths and infections so far. The Health Ministry says 50 more people died, while 2,603 tested positive over the last 24 hours. The death toll has risen to 1,067, with the total number of infections at 50,694. The ministry said 15,201 patients have recovered. It said 336 new infections were recorded in Sindh province, 310 in Punjab, and 365 in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Meanwhile, Balochistan reported 39 more cases and the capital, Islamabad, 12 more. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has thanked Pakistan for donating coronavirus medical supplies to the US. Pakistan gave surgical masks and personal protective equipment to the Federal Emergency Management Agency. In his message, Pompeo said, "The Washington appreciates Islamabad's goodwill donation." He said this delivery is a symbol of US-Pakistan solidarity in the fight against COVID-19. On Thursday, Pakistan's armed forces gifted PPE kits to US military at the Andrews Air Base in Washington, D.C. In other news, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei says Israel is a cancerous tumor in the Middle East that should be confronted until Palestinians are liberated. In a speech on Jerusalem Day, Khamenei called on Palestinians to continue their uprising against Israel. The Supreme Leader said the long-lasting virus of Zionists will be eliminated soon. He said a referendum must be conducted in the region as Palestinians are in the majority. Khamenei and other senior Iranian officials have called repeatedly for an end to the state of Israel. Jerusalem Day is an annual event held on the last Friday of the holy month of Ramadan. It was declared by Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini in 1979. Palestine has rejected an aid shipment from the United Arab Emirates after it arrived at Israel's Ben Gurion airport. In a news conference, Health Minister Michaela said Palestine refused to receive the medical aid as the Emirati side did not coordinate with them. She said Palestine is a sovereign country and UAE should have spoken to the authorities first. The Emirati fight at Israel's airport marks the first public flight between the two states, despite the UAE not having any official ties with Israel. Meanwhile, Jordan has warned it will review the relationship with Israel over its plans to annex the occupied West Bank. Prime Minister Omar al-Razaz accused Tel Aviv of taking advantage of the coronavirus pandemic to implement its unilateral moves. The US says it will withdraw from the Open Skies Treaty, which permits unarmed aerial surveillance flights over member countries. Talking to media in Washington, President Donald Trump accused Russia of repeated violations of the accord. Russia's foreign ministry responded it had not violated the treaty and US withdrawal will be very regrettable. It said the Trump administration is trying to derail all agreements on arms control. Meanwhile, Trump said the US will formally withdraw from the accord in 6 months. The US president later said there is hope for talks in the future.
I think we have a very good relationship with Russia, but Russia didn't adhere to the treaty. So until they adhere, we will pull out. But there's a very good chance we'll make a new agreement or do something to put that agreement back together.
35 nations are party to the treaty, including Russia, Canada, and the UK. The NATO headquarters said it will hold a North Atlantic Council meeting today to address Washington's unilateral decision to withdraw from the pact. Now, in another news, the US has accused China of breaking commitments to keep Hong Kong semi-autonomous. Washington's allegations came after Beijing said it was proposing a new Hong Kong national security law. State Department spokesperson Morgan Ortega says Beijing should honor its commitments and obligations in the Sino-British Joint Declaration. The bilateral treaty signed in 1984 guarantees a high degree of autonomy for Hong Kong until at least 2047. US President Donald Trump also warned of a very strong reaction against an attempt to gain more control over the former British colony. Details of the legislation will be revealed at the Chinese Parliament's annual session today. China has urged the US to cut off military ties with Taiwan and stop selling weapons to the disputed territory. Beijing's foreign ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian urged Washington to abide by the One China principle. He said military ties between US and Taiwan will further harm bilateral relations.
China firmly stands against US selling arms to Taiwan and has lodged solemn representation to the United States. We urge the US to abide by One China policy and 3 joint communique. Stop arms sales to Taiwan and military contact with Taiwan in order to avoid further damage on US-China relations and Taiwan Strait relations.
以免对中美
We're now going live to Karachi, where Pakistan International Airlines flight has crashed in Karachi. To the site. We have received details on the crash details of the PIA passenger plane flight crash near Karachi's airport, Karachi's International Airport. As we have more details, we will keep you updated on this news. As you can see the visuals on your screen, these are from the PIA flight which has crashed near Karachi's airport. We are coming to you. These are the visuals from the PIA flight crash. PIA passenger plane crashes near Karachi airport. You can see the visuals on your screen. Airbus 320 plane was en route to Karachi from Lahore. Plane carried out around 90 passengers. 90 passengers were on board. Rescue teams have been dispatched to the crash site. PIA passenger plane has crashed near Karachi airport. As you can see the visuals on your screen, Airbus 320 plane was en route to Karachi from Lahore. Approximately 90 passengers were on board. It was en route from Lahore to Karachi. Airbus 320 plane has crashed near Karachi airport, carrying approximately 90 passengers. Rescue teams have been dispatched to the crash site. These are the visuals coming to you from Karachi, where Airbus 320 plane en route from Lahore to Karachi crashed near the Karachi airport. This was PIA passenger plane carrying approximately 90 passengers. PIA passenger plane has crashed near Karachi airport. Approximately 90 passengers were on board from this flight from Lahore to Karachi. Rescue teams have been dispatched to the crash site. Rescue teams have arrived at the crash site. These are the visuals coming in from Karachi near the airport, where the plane en route from Lahore to Karachi has crashed. PIA passenger plane has crashed near Karachi airport. This was a plane en route from Lahore to Karachi. PIA passenger plane carrying approximately 90 passengers. Rescue teams have been dispatched to the site. As we have more on this, we will keep you updated. For now, we're taking a short break. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to our news bulletin. China says its defense spending will rise at its lowest rate in 3 decades by just over 6.5% in 2020. The report presented in the parliament said China's defense spending stands at over $178 billion. China's defense budget in 2020 is about a quarter of the U.S. defense budget last year, which stood at $686 billion. In 2018, China announced its largest military budget increase in 3 years at slightly above 8%. Meanwhile, China refrained from setting a 2020 GDP growth target and pledged to step up spending and financing to support its economy. Premier Li Keqiang said due to uncertainty caused by COVID-19, Beijing will prioritize stabilizing employment and ensuring living standards. In Afghanistan, the government says the Taliban have shown zero respect for the peace deal signed with the United States. In a tweet, National Security Council spokesman Javed Faisal said the Taliban have killed 25 people and wounded 89 others this week. The Taliban are yet to comment on the statement. On Wednesday, Taliban leader Habibullah Akhundzada said the group is committed to the peace deal and asked other sides to respect the agreement. He urged Washington not to waste the opportunity to end America's longest war. Earlier, the Afghan President Ashraf Ghani stressed the need for a ceasefire before the start of intra-Afghan talks. Guatemala's President Alejandro Giammattei has criticized the U.S. for deporting migrants infected with novel coronavirus. In an online talk, Giammattei said the United States has treated Guatemala in an unkind way. President Giammattei said Washington has not even sent a single mask during the pandemic. He said the government does not understand why the U.S. will send flights full of infection. 190 deportees have tested positive for the virus so far, amounting to 5% of the country's cases. In a statement, the U.S. Embassy listed the economic aid it has designated recently for Guatemala. It said Washington is committed to the health and prosperity of the Guatemalan people. The U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation says the shooting at Texas Naval Air Station is being investigated as a terrorism act. Earlier, U.S. Navy shot down an active assailant at its Corpus Christi station, which wounded a security force member. FBI Special Agent Laia Greaves said investigators are working to determine whether a second person of interest is at large in the community. She said officials are still working to process the crime scene. In a separate statement, the U.S. State Department of Justice said it is working with the FBI and will analyze electronic media found at the scene. The Justice Department did not elaborate on the nature of that electronic media. In Burundi, the head of election commission has appealed for patience as ballots were collected and tallied following a tense poll. Earlier, Burundi voted to elect its president, legislators and local officials in an election marked by allegations of fraud and threat of COVID-19. Chairman of National Electoral Commission said the process of counting votes will take several days. He said the results of presidential, parliamentary and local will be announced at the same time on Monday or Tuesday. The last election, conducted in 2015, descended into violence that left 1,200 dead. President Pierre Nkurunziza, whose government has repeatedly been accused of rights abuses, will step down after 15 years. The UN says the remains of a fugitive major suspect from the 1994 Rwanda genocide have been identified in a grave in Congo. In a statement, UN prosecutors said Augustine Bizimana, who was indicted on 13 charges in 1998, is believed to have died in 2000. The statement read, Bizimana's remains were identified by DNA testing. The announcement follows the arrest of another suspect, Felicien Kabuga, in Paris last week. Kabuga was indicted in 1997 on 7 criminal counts, including genocide. The World Wildlife Fund says deforestation rose by 150% this March compared to the 2017-2019 average for the same month. In a study, the WWF analyzed satellite data of 18 countries compiled by the University of Maryland. In a statement, the German arm of WWF said around 6,500 square kilometers of rainforest were felled in March alone. It said there is ample evidence to suggest the boom in rainforest deforestation is being fueled by the COVID-19 pandemic. With strict lockdowns in place in many countries, authorities have not been able to patrol nature preserves and indigenous territories as often. This is a situation that criminal organizations and illegal loggers have been using to their advantage. The study said the forests were most heavily hit by deforestation in Indonesia, with more than 1,300 square kilometers lost. In Colombia, the use of drones to contain the COVID-19 pandemic and implement lockdowns has raised concerns about privacy. However, advocates of the technology say it's helping the government save lives. Find out how in this report.
Colombian capital Bogota is home to 1/3 of the country's 17,000 COVID-19 cases. Since the pandemic started, drones have become a steady feature of the city's skyline. They're programmed to detect high body temperatures, which has proven invaluable for the government's fight to contain the virus.
Without a doubt, the use of these technologies from the National Police has been very useful in these orange alert areas. These drones that fly from 150 meters on average have the capacity to check people in the street and check their temperature.
Though this strategy has been effective, concerns have been raised about the technology violating citizens' privacy. But there are many citizens who say the use of drones is justified during this pandemic.
I think it is very good for what they're looking for that objective, but if it's for other things, then I wouldn't be comfortable. But I think it's excellent, of course. The more measures taken, the better.
Parts of the country have begun emerging from the lockdown, but the drones are still helping the government keep track of virus hotspots. This is yet another example of technology helping to keep national economies afloat during this pandemic. The coronavirus has killed over 600 Colombians so far.
Despite restrictions and curfew to stem the spread of the COVID-19 outbreak, marketplaces in Afghanistan are overcrowded by shoppers ahead of AL-FITR. More about Eid preparations in this report.
The Afghan government imposed curfew in mid-March to halt the coronavirus spread in the country. Schools and markets were closed, and all sports events and traditional festivals were cancelled. Despite the increase in infection cases and recent surge in violence, Afghans are preparing for traditional Eid. In Mazar-e-Sharif, people thronged an open-air marketplace to purchase dried nuts, sweets, and new clothes for the feast. Though many people are not coming out of their houses due to COVID-19, but still, a large number of Afghans have flocked to the market.
The marketplace is very crowded as if there is no coronavirus disease. I came here to buy clothes and shopping. coronavirus outbreak impacted the market. Despite this, the market is filled by shoppers, even if it is not as much as before. The crowd in the market has increased a lot. It was not like this a few days ago. Even so, many people do not leave their houses due to coronavirus outbreak.
According to the Health Ministry, the number of COVID-19 cases in Afghanistan has climbed to nearly 8,700, with more than 190 deaths.
Global benchmark Brent crude price has touched its highest level since March, supported by lower U.S. crude inventories. The oil price rebound also follows OPEC-led output cuts and recovering demand as governments ease COVID-19 restrictions. Brent crude settled at over $36 per barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude closed at about $34 a barrel. On Thursday, U.S. Energy Information Administration said crude inventories fell by 5 million barrels last week. It said stocks at oil storage hub at Cushing, Oklahoma, dropped by over 5.5 million barrels. Fuel demand has gradually ticked upwards in recent weeks as governments worldwide begin to ease restrictions. European stock markets are trading lower as ties between the US and China have come under further strain, potentially threatening the Phase 1 trade deal. Investors are monitoring developments on the issues between the two largest economic powerhouses. London's FTSE 100 is trading over 1% higher. Frankfurt's DAX has lost over 0.5%, while CAC 40 in Paris is trading fractionally higher. In Asia, Hong Kong's Hang Seng led the losses, closing over 5.5% lower as sentiments dip over Beijing's new security laws. Shanghai Composite lost nearly 2%, while Seoul's Kospi closed nearly 1.5%. Meanwhile, international benchmark Brent crude oil price has lost nearly 5%. Near Karachi's international airport, Pakistan International Airlines flight A320 has crashed. We will now be showing you the visuals on your screen. This flight was carrying 99 passengers and 8 crew members en route from Lahore to Karachi when it crashed near the Karachi airport just when it was about to land. Rescue teams have reached the site as per details issued by the DGISPR. Army's Quick Reaction Force and Pakistan Rangers Sindh troops reached the incident site for relief and rescue efforts alongside civil administration. These visuals are coming to you from Karachi, where near the Karachi International Airport, PIA's flight from Lahore to Karachi crashed just when it was about to land, carrying almost 90 passengers and 8 crew members. 99 passengers and 8 crew members were on board this PIA flight from Lahore to Karachi when it crashed near Karachi's international airport just when it was about to land. Rescue teams have been dispatched. Army's Quick Reaction Force and Pakistan Rangers Sindh troops reached the incident site for relief and rescue efforts alongside civil administration. These are the details coming in from Karachi, where near Karachi's international airport, PIA's flight from Lahore to Karachi carrying 99 passengers on board with 8 crew members crashed near the airport just before it was about to land. Army's Quick Reaction Force and Pakistan Rangers Sindh troops reached the incident site for relief and rescue efforts alongside civil administration. These are the live visuals coming in from Karachi's international airport, near Karachi's international airport, where PIA's flight A320 en route to Karachi from Lahore crashed near the airport just when it was about to land. Army's Quick Reaction Force and Pakistan Rangers Sindh troops reached incident site for relief and rescue efforts as the plane was carrying around 99 passengers and 8 crew members. As we have more on this, we will keep you updated. This is all for now for our top stories. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.in.